When the sun goes down, Sacramento lights up. Bold, smart, unpredictable. Join Sky Alton as he shines his spotlight on the stories, the talent, and the everyday moments that makes our community amazing. And now please welcome Sky Alton.
Welcome back to the show. Today we're highlighting the amazing work of Sierra Animal Rescue. From rescuing animals in need to helping them find loving homes, their impact reaches far beyond the shelter. Let's take a little bit of a look at what they do.
Hi, Lonnie. Hi, baby. Morning. When I was a kid, I dreamed of having an animal rescue and sanctuary where every animal had a place. I was kind of a strange child, and so I really connected with animals immediately. And for me, being able to have a place where all animals are welcome, regardless of how challenging they are, whether they're cute or not, or whether they're old or young, what was most important was being able to give them a safe space. Sierra Overlook Animal Rescue was the lifelong brainchild that I've been working on, and we're just at the very beginning. This rescue focuses on providing lifelong care to the animals that typically slip through the cracks, no matter how complex an animal's care need is, no matter what training challenges they have, or how old they are. All are welcome. We're the place that animals can come to when they don't fit within the conventional systems like a county animal shelter or even other amazing nonprofits. We take on the animals that are old, sick, and have complex training needs, and we're proud to do so. We're just at the very beginning of our journey, but I know we're gonna do great things over the next 10 years. So hopefully you'll follow along and see the amazing things that we're gonna accomplish together.
Yes, we have Executive Director Kimberly Nnowalue joining us. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kimberly Nnowalue to the show. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm so excited to have you on the show. Oh my God, this is a first. This is the first time for me. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know out there, tell the audience a little bit about who you are and the organization you represent.
Yeah, well, my name is Kimberly, and I represent Sierra Overlook Animal Rescue. We're a local nonprofit that helps animals that typically can't be served by existing rescues or shelters. Mm-hmm. For example, it's hard to miss the little ones next to me if you keep seeing me glance over. These are two of the critters that are at our rescue. We have Kina and Dejara, and they're a great example of the types of animals that our rescue is set up to serve. We specialize in helping animals that have special needs, maybe are more challenging for the average pet owner to be able to offer a safe and wonderful life, or it could be animals that are older or just maybe have more complex behavior needs that make it less likely for them to be adopted.
So tell me a little bit, how did Sierra Animal Rescue get started?
So I guess it was like, this sounds silly, but I feel like I have to go back probably all the way till when I was in preschool.
That was fine, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I promise we're gonna get to starts a really big picture. We'll narrow it. So when I was in preschool, I gave my mom a drawing for the very first time of this animal sanctuary that I just planned on having. I wanted to create a place where every unwanted animal would be able to be safe and happy and loved and well cared for the rest of its life. And I had these pretty grand dreams, and I held on to it all the way until junior high. And I think at that point, my mom started to get a little worried that maybe I had some unrealistic expectations for what, a average person could achieve, and encouraged me to focus on stuff that was more realistic. And I briefly went a different direction when I was in college. And then after grad school, started to refocus on my passion for animals. And in 2025, honestly, January was a really rough start to the year for me, and I figured that if I was going to continue to be on this planet, I wanted to do something that got me excited to get out of bed every single morning, something that gave me purpose and that I knew was helping to make a positive change.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I guess that's kind of the big to small picture.
Okay, I like that. So what is the mission of the rescue, and how has it evolved over time?
I'm sorry.
They're trying to steal the spotlight.
I know,
They
baby.
look at us. They want the audience to know that, hey, the show is about them tonight.
I know, sorry. She's my little clingy baby. She hasn't gotten a chance to meet a lot of new people. Are you willing to ask the question again?
Yeah, of course. So, what is the mission of the rescue, and how has it evolved over time?
Yeah, so our mission is essentially to provide safe forever homes for unadoptable animals.
Okay.
That was the easiest summary of what we started with. I got to see through my years of professional experience working in animal care how the animals that are difficult or more exotic or older frequently slip through the cracks, and as a result either end up getting poor care or even worse, end up being euthanized. And as wonderful as other rescue organizations are, and as hard as county shelters do their best to maintain as low of a level of animal euthanasia as possible, the truth is they exist to be able to serve as many animals as possible. And when they're working in parameters like that, especially where volume is the main goal, sadly that means that animals that have behavior issues, special needs, or are elderly, therefore making them less likely to be adopted, aren't prioritized. And again, even worse, those are the animals that have the highest rate of being euthanized in normal shelters and then nonprofit rescues, due to how truthfully financially and financially draining and time consuming it is to care for those animals. Oftentimes are not able to step in and help those animals. So I wanted to create a place where hopefully over time our organization could grow to fill this special niche for the animals that get left behind, because in my opinion, no animal deserves to be forgotten about. And it was like we have some very special critters here today that constantly remind me of that mission.
That is first of all, you're amazing. That's an amazing mission. And I love that you found this loophole in the system, and you were like, you know what, I am going to focus on that niche, and I'm going to take care of these animals that, like you said, sometimes fall through the cracks. So what typical type of animals do you guys rescue?
Yeah, so Sierra Overlook Animal Rescue, aka SOAR. If you hear me say SOAR, I promise it means the same thing. It's just less of a mouthful. SOAR helps animals from a big range of stuff. We have dogs and cats, we have farm animals, we have birds. And when it comes to birds, it could be things like chickens, ducks, peafowl, or it could be things like emus and parrots. We welcome all animals that don't require us to have a special permit from the state of California.
Got it.
Eventually, my dream is for us to be able to raise enough funds to then build the infrastructure necessary to be able to expand our mission into helping native wildlife as well as permitted exotics. So an emu or a parrot would be considered a non-permitted exotic. You can have that without having special permission from Fish and Wildlife or USDA, which means you can legally own it as a normal nonprofit entity or even as a resident of the state. But other animals that are deemed more exotic can be crop pests or are native wildlife. You need special permissions from the state to be able to care for those animals, even if it's in a rescue capacity. So I'm really hoping that as we're able to get more exposure and share our mission with more people, that we can expand to being able to care for wildlife that can't be rehabilitated and offering them a safe forever home, as well as working with rescued exotics that people maybe own illegally and sadly don't know how to take care of, or oftentimes when people face health issues with their illegal exotic animals, they frequently get abandoned, which is really tough. So I saw a lot of that in my previous role before, founding and starting SOAR with my board of directors.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that animal rescues face today?
I think everybody knows that this is a tough time for the average family or individual in America. Prices are going up, wages are not typically following that trend, and so times are tough for funding for nonprofits. Larger, very well-established nonprofits seem to be holding their own, but even the larger ones have expressed concern over this. I've been able to participate in quite a few professional conferences within the animal welfare world, and a consistent thing across all of those organizations is concerns regarding funding. A few of the very large ones, like the Humane World for Animals and the SPCA, are still able, just because of their presence nationwide, are able to maintain the donation revenue that is required to continue their mission. But even medium-sized and especially smaller nonprofits have really been struggling. So of course, I can never do anything the easy way. 2025 was a turning point for it being one of the most difficult years for nonprofits to raise funds. And again, it was like, I like a challenge, so I'm not deterred.
You know, that's interesting. So you mentioned SPCA, and that is actually where my cats were rescued.
Yeah, your kitties are beautiful.
Yes. But no, like I remember when I went and adopted my cats, that was something that they talked about, how you know, it was such a big deal to even go, instead of going to a breeder, like actually going to like adopt a cat, just because that's how, you know, they stay in business, and you know, they were able to keep taking care of animals by community support and people actually showing up. And you know, like I said, instead of going through someone privately who's just making a profit for themselves, you're actually helping and, you know, save an animal versus, you know, the latter. So tell me a little bit about what's the most rewarding part of like what you do day to day?
Oh man, is it cheesy if I say that I love it all except for the office work? I do the office work and I'm good at it, but administrative stuff and paperwork has never been my favorite. I love the big and the small things, but I guess if I have to really focus on one single thing, it's the success stories. It's having animals that are surrendered to us that are in really poor physical health or struggling, or we're facing euthanasia, and getting to see those animals heal and thrive and begin loving life again. We've had, you know, we currently still have multiple animals at our rescue that if we hadn't been able to step in at, you know, the 11th hour, unfortunately those animals wouldn't be on this planet any longer. And just the like day-to-day joy of seeing those animals just get to eat their favorite foods, go on walks, play outside with the other animals, get pets, you know, have a safe, stable place to fall asleep at night, knowing that they get to have the same supportive yet exciting routine every single day. That to me brings me so much joy, and I have to remind myself that anytime that I start to get discouraged or anytime I feel low on energy, I would just remind myself that this work is worth it.
So is that how you handle like the emotional side of rescue? Because I'm pretty sure sometimes it gets really tough, as you may take in animals and obviously you want to make sure you support them and all of them make a full recovery, but I'm pretty sure sometimes you may take in a rescue and they don't bounce back. So how do you handle the emotional side? And
I guess I was like, I'll try not to get emotional in turn talking about it. But I just have to remind myself that it's worth it, even if I can only give them a few minutes to a few days of love, that small amount of joy I can bring them, like, it's worth it. I would do it 100,000 times, like, every single day. There's been one of the animals that made the biggest impact on my life was the animal we had at the rescue, the shortest. We only got to have this little, very, very special needs duck. Had so many issues. They hatched and were given to our rescue. And that little one had 2 challenging weeks of their life, but they knew
constant love and constant joy, even if it meant hand feeding that little baby, making sure that they were cozy and warm. I mean, this little duck was inseparable for me. If I could take it outside with me, I would. And it even got time with other ducklings its age, and, you know, passed in the company of other ducklings its age, as, you know, it was like, I guess as peacefully as possible.
Wow. Yeah, that I feel that. And I can tell just from, you know, you sharing that story, like that was something that's going to stick with you forever. But I can also tell that, you know, you're in the right field that you're in, and you're supposed to be doing this work. And with that being said, you know, just from that story, what lessons have your animals taught you about resilience and compassion?
Oh man, so much. I think a big part for why I finally was pushed to start SOAR with the amazing board of directors that I have was my previous experience in animal care professionally. I was frequently told by my CEO, since I worked directly beneath him, my CEO, that we had to be realistic about animal care, which meant if an animal is sick or going to be too much of a drain on finances, it's just time to say goodbye, even if it's a fixable issue. I, you know, also got told, even by some amazing vets that I was working alongside, like, it gets easier. And I can proudly tell you that after 7 years of working in the animal care field prior to founding SOAR, every animal that passed away, every animal that I was with to help them cross the rainbow bridge, it never got easier. I got maybe better at hiding how much of a drain and what a toll it took on my soul to, you know, see those animals pass. And again, we always did everything that we could. It's just, it's difficult when people look at animal care, even in the best circumstances, when they look at animal care as a business. And to me, if you get to have the privilege and the honor of taking care of animals, to me, it was like I look at them as family members. If I had a family member who was going through a health issue, I wouldn't say, oh, well, is it really worth it to fix this health issue?
Right.
That wouldn't,
everything.
and I realize that probably makes me a terrible business person, but then I joke and tell people it's a good thing I'm in a nonprofit, right?
Right.
But I guess to get back to the original question, what you asked, what animals specifically have taught me about compassion and empathy and resilience. Watching animals heal and overcome challenges that not just one person said was, quote, impossible, that many people, even individuals in the, you know, vet field, have said, oh, it's impossible, they're not going to make it. That has just, I don't know, it was like, it's touched me to like a level that I almost can't explain. And maybe it's better if I just illustrate through a story. We have an emu. She's not with us today. She's alive. She's she's hanging out at the sanctuary.
You make me cry over here, you know?
She's hanging out at the sanctuary right now. Her name is Bindi, and Bindi sadly became very ill with West Nile virus when she was a chick. And we took her to 3 different vets. And all 3 of those vets essentially said, the best thing you can do is put this animal down. It's a mercy to put them down. And I finally found an amazing vet at the Medical Center for Birds, just slightly outside of the Bay Area. And they were able to help us. She did have to be, she had to be in intensive care for 2 weeks on feeding tubes and fluid. But that was enough to be able to give her body a fighting chance to overcome the virus. And she does live with permanent neurological damage, but she is the most loving, joyful animal that I have ever met. And every day with her really feels like a gift. I feel like, not to make it too religious, but it's like, to me, it was like, it's almost like a spiritual experience watching these animals that so many people, even gifted, amazing professionals, say, this animal isn't worth the investment. It's just not going to work. And to pour your heart and soul and time into these animals to help them heal is amazing.
Yeah, like I said, you said it perfectly. It's amazing. We're going to talk more about the amazing work that you're doing, but I hate to do this because I'm learning so much about these animals and they're so emotional. But we got to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Everyday amazing with Sky Alton.
Kent Hansen with American River Raft Rentals. Check out my episode of Everyday Amazing with Sky Alton.
Everyday amazing with Sky Alton.
We're back, and we're still here with the amazing Kimberly Nnowalue. And, you know, tell me a little bit about how your organization works with the community.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Well, myself and my board of directors, we fundamentally agree that we can't serve animals without serving our community. I think those two things are completely inseparable from each other, because to be able to take care of animals, you also want to make sure your community has the resources necessary to take care of their current pets, as well as learning the skills to be able to be good, I guess, good stewards of the planet, as well as good caregivers to their own animals. And one of the, well, we have a few different community initiatives that I'm hoping to work on. Two, I guess all three are technically in the future, but I'll start with the ones that are furthest off in the distance. So right now, I'm currently working to find grants to support two separate community programs. One of them is because our actual physical sanctuary is located further up the hill in more remote areas. I want to be able to, well, to be fair, our rescue wants to be able to purchase multiple microchip scanner stations that we could put in rural and remote areas, so that when individuals find a lost pet, instead of driving the 30 to 45 minutes to the closest vet to be able to get information on the original owner of that pet, they can go to these rural microchip scanning stations and be able to find the contact information of the individual that that animal is registered to. In rural areas, it can be really difficult because there's not as many resources out there, and some people, just even the idea of having to drive 30 to 40 plus minutes discourages them from taking those animals into a vet. Unfortunately, I will say, usually it's the first thing that rescues or shelters do is look for a microchip, but we want to make it even easier for individuals to help reunite animals with their families. And that's also going to hopefully put less pressure on our amazing local shelters, because even the time to intake those animals takes away valuable resources that could be allocated towards the care, enrichment, and rehoming of animals already at that shelter. So anything that we can do to support our community with reuniting lost pets with their pet parents faster, we're invested in. The other item that I'm currently working on writing grants for, I want to be able to have a animal food pantry.
Okay.
I know that in Sacramento, we're very blessed to have some human food pantries that also feature pet food, which is absolutely essential, because if somebody's struggling to feed themselves, their pets are just as much their family as the people in their family are. And we want to be able to support with that effort by having a pet food pantry as well. And so that's something that's in the future, but it's one of those things I'm actively working to raise funds for. Recently, SOAR was lucky enough to receive a very generous grant from the Women's Fund of El Dorado County to support a rural outreach program for girls ages 12 to 14 at our sanctuary, for them to learn hands-on skills about leadership, team building, as well as practical skills in animal care, to help empower these girls to feel more confident and also feel like they can be stronger members of their communities.
Okay, I like that. I like that. So I understand we have a few photos, right? And so we're gonna pull up a few photos and then have you tell us a little bit about, you know, just what was going on. So tell me right here what.
That's my favorite picture of Bindi. Bindi is one of the special needs animals at our rescue and sanctuary. That's the little one I was telling you about earlier that came down sadly with West Nile virus when she was very little. And Again, fourth time was the charm for us to find a vet that was able to provide her with treatment, but it's my favorite picture of her face because it really captures her genuinely goofy personality. She's such a friendly emu. She has a hard time lifting her head up, so the reason it looks kind of funky, I'm holding her head up for her, but she'll come over to people and she kind of swings her neck and will bump into your leg to get pets. She's super affectionate. Yeah, that's my baby. That's me, and that's me with two of the emus at our rescue. We've got Bindi and Nnowalue in there. Nnowalue is Bindi's normal buddy. Just like over here, we have Kina and Dejara paired up. When we have animals that have special needs, we work really hard to make sure they're paired up with a normal buddy so that they're able to learn like species appropriate behavior.
So are emus usually paired up?
So emus exist in small groups. There are times where emus can be nomadic. In general, though, emus do prefer to be in small, loosely formed groups. And there's definitely a bit of a complex social structure with emus, for sure. So I think of them as very social beings, but depending on the region that they're from and the topography, there are times where emus sometimes do decide to separate from the larger loose group of emus to strike out on their own. They are shockingly adventurous animals.
Really?
But for anybody who has an emu or is looking to have an emu someday, it's essential that they be paired up with at least one other emu. To be fair, I think maybe dogs and cats because they've been so habituated with people and so domesticated. Dogs and cats, arguably we could say they could be good on their own with just a human being as a companion. But emus, like most other birds, are not domesticated. And so animals that are not domesticated, it's really important to make sure they have others of their kind to be able to socialize with. And even just having another one there not only sets a good example for our special babies, but it also just gives them a chance to have a level of community and connection that a human being realistically can't offer, even with the best intentions.
So since we have such beautiful emus here tonight in the studio, what would you say to someone looking to adopt an emu or someone who has never had experience with one? Like, how would you sell them on it? What would be your pitch?
Oh man, I'm not gonna lie, I think this is where I'm maybe a confusing person when it comes to adoption. Our rescue always approaches it from a standpoint that for them to find a forever home outside of our rescue, they need to be offered as good or better living situations. So for an emu, my explanation would be per emu, you need a minimum of half an acre.
Okay.
So if you were interested in adopting an emu, you would need to have at minimum 1 acre because they are social animals. So you would need to have 2 emus together, minimum of 1 acre.
Got it.
Those acreage needs to be fenced in, and ideally that acreage is going to offer slightly different topography. It's really important for emus to keep their legs strong, and in the wild, they're known for roaming over large territories of land throughout Australia. And Australia has an incredibly diverse landscape.
Right.
So although we can't mimic that here in California, being able to offer them some areas that have hills and other things that can help challenge their legs. Fortunately, not all animals need quite as specific things as emus. They also need a large outdoor area to sleep in, and they do enjoy taking baths. So there would need to be a clean pond, or you would be willing to have a safe, like animal safe pool for them to access, as well as shade structures. But we have animals that require a lot less work than an emu.
You know, I was trying to think to myself, I have none of those things. But you know, I was thinking to myself, you know, is there some way I can maneuver and get an emu? But it doesn't look like it's gonna work out at this time. I'm not saying no forever,
in the future,
but just,
you know,
there we go.
They're always selling property up where we live. I would love to have you as a neighbor.
When I take over Jimmy Kimmel's spot and the money rolls in bigger, then I will have more than just 1 acre. I'll have like 20 acres of land.
I'll pet sit for you.
There we go. You know. So we like to play this game here on this show. We have about 5 minutes left in the show, and since you know I can remember to do it, I want to do this game that I like to do, where we have you pull a card.
Ooh, okay, let's go.
since you've been such an amazing guest, and I've learned so much about just animal rescue and just, different animals, and just, your story is really inspiring. Again, I say this all the time. People are going to watch this show and say, he always says this about guests, but it's true. You're one of the people why I created my show, to just highlight just the amazing work that you're doing. And, you guys kind of motivate me to kind of keep going. Anytime like I get fatigued and I'm like, oh, I gotta, come out with another season, I just think about all the amazing people out there who are doing things like you're doing. And I just feel like, I need to show the world, and I think, people will get inspired by it. So
well, thank you. I hope on behalf of our entire rescue, we're very grateful for this opportunity. And, I talked about how important community is, and I'm grateful you're part of my community in this sense.
Of course. So yeah, we're gonna have you pull a card, and then you'll read out the question and answer it.
Try not to look. I don't want to cheat. Not that I can cheat at this. Okay. What fun memory do you have of someone who's gone?
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. We're taking it heavy. Oh, gosh. Okay. Should I do human or animal?
It's up to dealer's choice.
Okay. I think to be very on brand for us, I'm going to choose one of our animals that has crossed the Rainbow Bridge. We've been blessed to be able to care for some animals during their end of life phases. Mm-hmm. And one of the animals that we had was a very elderly chicken named Elizabeth. Elizabeth came to our rescue in very rough physical condition. She was missing most of the feathers on her head and neck from being bullied by the other hens from the flock she'd originally come from. Her feet were in incredibly severe condition. She had a scaly mite infection and some other underlying health issues. But over the course of many months, even though she was quite old, we were able to get her to a point where for a short time I was able to see her truly healthy and active. Mm-hmm. And then as time went on, because she was older, it appears that she did develop cancer. And near the end, she was really cuddly, and she got to pass peacefully, sleeping essentially in her bed in the chicken coop. But the day before she passed, I gave her her favorite treats, because I had just noticed that she was, had been slowing down progressively, and she was still eating and drinking. But I contacted my vet, earlier in the week, the vet on our board of directors, to let her know. And we were monitoring her, but it was like, okay, she's still eating and drinking well. And the evening right before the morning that she passed, she just wasn't as excited about her food. So I went in and brought all of her favorite foods to her, and she sat and ate them by her bed in the chicken coop. And then the next morning I went out, and she had passed, but we got to have that time together.
I can only imagine that, she felt and experienced the love that, your feelings for her. I'm pretty sure, before she passed, she knew how much you loved her.
Yeah. And I guess to not make it all completely sad, she was a hilarious chicken. It's not all depressing stuff. She used to love to get into the garden and rip up all of the nice things that I would try to plant to grow food for the animals. And she would also try to run into the house whenever she could, and liked hiding in places in the house so that she could be in there instead of out with the other critters. So there were a lot of happy memories with her.
I'm glad, she's in our memories. I want to thank you again, Kimberly, for coming on the show and just sharing so many amazing stories about animals and like your experience. Like I said, it's truly been a blast just, hearing the work that you do, and any way I can support, I will continue to, highlight things that you guys are doing, and I'll definitely have to have you come back on the show
We'll
again.
be honored. Thank
yeah,
you.
we'll bring different animals, it'll be great.
Next time I want to bring our paraplegic kitten. That was the other one I almost was like, well, can I maybe just bring Bagheera with me? Because if you're talking about someone to steal your heart, I mean, I'm a crazy bird lady through and through, but it's a sweet kitty who loves to wear a diaper and just wants to be somebody's couch potato. I cannot believe we've not found a home for this beautiful cat.
Well, you know, I have cats myself, so we're gonna have to make that happen.
If you ever need a little diaper buddy, Bagheera's used to getting butt baths and diaper changes. So easiest cat bath you're ever gonna give in your life.
All right, we'll make it happen sometimes. Thank you again for coming on the show. And to my viewers out there, I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's very different from our normal episode, so I'm hoping it was special and you guys enjoyed the emails and it warmed your hearts just as much as it warmed mine. Until next time, I'll see you then.